Today, we are actually going to be going to pre-register for the first ever Disney Lorcana challenge. And I was lucky enough to be at the hometown of one of the first events for that. And we are in Atlanta, Georgia now. I live just 30 minutes outside of Atlanta. Super excited I was able to get into this tournament. So this is going to be a video of our first experience with Disney Lorcana. Now today we are going to check in a day early before all the events start. They told us they'll give us an extra promo for going in and registering early. Now I assume most people are probably gonna try to go register early anyway, so that you can get a little bit more sleep Saturday, since the event will probably be a little bit more, it's gonna be pretty crazy on Saturday. For those of you that never play competitive events, we're playing 9 rounds of Swiss on Saturday, and I mean, there's not a whole lot of downtime in between those rounds, especially if any of your games go to time and things like that. So let's see what our venue looks like, and then after that, guys, we're gonna have some footage and some thoughts on the event, and I'll try to give you guys as much information as I possibly can on the Disney Lorcana challenge so that you can check one out at a city near you. Go ahead and talk about what we are going to cover in today's video. So number one, we're going to talk about the 2-game format, some takeaways, some pros and cons, and things that I personally think about that format. We're going to be talking about the side events and the tickets and the prize wall and the things you can earn, and some tips and tricks to kind of help you out navigate that with the way that it was run in Atlanta. Not saying it'll always be run that way, but some tips and tricks to navigate if they continue to do it the same. And then also, we are going to go ahead and give our overall thoughts on the experience, on the event, and maybe some things that they can do to improve it. Now, I do know this was the first time, so I'm sure they also have a list of a lot of things they personally want to do to improve this event as well. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so the 2-game format. Now, me personally, I'm not a huge fan of the 2-game format because I do believe that, unfortunately, it does create a little bit of extra variance that is kind of frustrating sometimes. So, you know, no matter how good you are at deck building or how good you are at shuffling or strategy or mulliganing, there is still always going to be variance in this card game. And I think that with a 2-game format, only playing 2 games, meaning you have to go 2-0 to win the match, or you're going to be splitting 1-1 most of the times. Very rarely, I think, went 0-1 or 1-0 with anybody. I don't think any games went to time like that. So I think with this particular format, it does leave open a lot extra variance, whereas in a best of 3 format, you know, if you have one bad game where your deck just doesn't give you a decent hand to be able to play the game, where it does happen at times. No matter how good you are at deck building, there is variance and it's always still going to happen. So I do think that the best of 3 format allows for that variance to be cut down just a little bit, but that is my personal opinion. So let me know down in the comments if you prefer the best of 2 format or if you prefer the best of 3 format. Now, me personally, like I said, I do prefer best of 3 to help cut down variance, but one major takeaway from the best of 2 or the 2-game format was time. Now, it went by a lot faster. We were at a 45-minute time limit. The games went by boom, 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 really quick. I think they did a fantastic job getting us in and out of that player area relatively quick for new rounds. They did give us one dinner break or lunch break. For some people, it wasn't very long and only ended up being like 30 minutes if they went to time, depending on how long it took them to get out of the play area. But overall, that's how most of these competitive events are. They are going to be grueling day ones. They are going to take a very long time, especially with a big field where we had 2,000 people. It was 9 rounds of Swiss. That is a lot of gameplay and a lot of brain power on day 1, but overall I do think that the event was run smoothly considering all of the problems they had with Melee, the actual app or the website that they use to run the pairings and the table seating process. So that I think the team did a fairly decent job, all things considered, all the technical issues that they were having. All right, so now let's talk about side events. So number 1, let's go over the different types of side events that there were. You had a game that was not Disney Lorcana, which is called Villainous, which is a tabletop board game, which is a lot of fun. You got a random character and kind of a deck building game, some strategy built into it. And that was one of the cheaper events to enter. That one only cost about $13 to enter. Now you got 1 ticket for participation, and you got 2 tickets each time that you won at a table of a group of 4. And then you played, I think they did it in a 4-table pod on Sunday. Saturday, they didn't have anybody really sign up for it, so it was a little bit different. I don't know how that's going to happen at a tournament near you, so I don't have as much information on that one. But you got 2 tickets each time that you won at your little pod, and then moved on to the next one and the next one. Next up, you have the sealed tournaments, which basically are, you get 6 packs. You're going to build a 40-card deck out of your cards. Now, this cost almost $50. I do believe after tax it was about $47 for this event. Now, this was probably the most pricey of the events to get into, so I do believe that your ticket to dollar ratio and time ratio spent, this was probably the worst when it came to dollars spent for tickets earned, but you had a chance to maybe hit an enchanted card, some really good legendaries, and things like that if you were looking to get product, if you weren't able to get product during the initial release week at your local game store. So I do think that that was great for some people as well. Now, another type of sealed or limited format is draft. Now, I think in most places they're going to give you 3 or 4 packs. The way it works, you're going to have a pod where you guys sit in a circle of 8 typically, and you were going to open a booster pack. You're going to take one single card from that pack and pass it to your right, and then you're going to continue passing right until that complete booster pack is gone. Then you will open the next pack, and then you will take one card and pass it to the left. Do the same thing again, open, and then go to the right and the left, depending on how many packs you guys open for the draft. You'll build a non-color restriction deck, again, 40 cards, no color restriction. And for that event, you got 2 tickets for participating as well, same as the regular sealed, 2 tickets per match win, and then 1 additional ticket if you went 3-0, so netting you a total of 9 tickets if you went 3-0 in that event. You also had constructed, which basically meant you bring your own deck, just like you going and playing in the main event, and you played in a constructed tournament, which was best of 3. Now, the Ursula's return cards were legal for this, so we saw some real good variety of decks, which was a lot of fun. I personally went 3-0 in one, or 3-0 in one of those events. And it was really cool to see a lot of the new deck types from Ursula's return. And in that particular one, you were getting 2 tickets for your participation. Same thing, 2 tickets per match win, and then 1 additional if you went 3-0. Now, you also had Pod, which was the multiplayer. Now, you sit in a pod of 4, and you play a game. Whoever gets to 20 lore first wins. Now, one thing that was really cool about that event, we'll go back to it in just a minute. That was kind of one of my tips for tickets. So we'll go back to that. Keep an eye on the later part of the video for that. Next, you had basically a team unified tournament. So we had 3 teammates, all 6 colors have to be represented. So what that means is if I'm playing red-blue, neither one of my 2 partners could be playing red or blue. So all 6 colors have to be represented and not repeated. And you played against a team of 3, and whoever won 2 of the 3 matches first won that round. And it's the same thing. You each got 2 tickets for participation, 2 tickets per round win, and then also 1 ticket bonus if your team went 3-0. So similar fashion on that one as well. All right, so now Sunday, this was a very unique instance for us in Atlanta. I don't know if this happened at Lille or not, but because the lines were so backed up during the sign-up process on Sunday morning. Now, there were 2,000 people in the main event. Only 64 made day 2, which means all those other people, plus people that were attendees of the event, wanted to play side events on Sunday. We were not able to check in via the app because Melee was letting people over-register for the events. So the lines were absolutely insane at the start of the day on Sunday. So what they did to appease everybody was they said, hey guys, we appreciate you and your patience. Thank you so much for being patient. We are going to double the amount of tickets today. So when they doubled the amount of tickets, that meant every event you were getting 4 participation tickets that got 2, and every match win netted you 4 tickets for every match win, and your additional at the end was 2 instead of 1. Now, what was really good and unique about this specific scenario was that if you played in these tournaments and you wanted to go up quickly and go play in another one and get into multiple, sometimes you were able to basically split the tickets of your final rounds in events. So say we were both 2-0 in the constructed event, instead of one of us getting the win plus the additional, we would split. Now in that scenario, both me and my opponent got our 4 participation tickets, and then an additional 11 tickets. So just from that, if you went 2-0 and then split with your partner, you were able to then go to the prize wall. Now here's the prize wall. You guys can take a quick look at it. And the reason why that number is a key number is because you were able to get that Rapunzel card or that Cinderella card right out of the gate by just playing 1 single event. Now on Saturday, they did not do double tickets, so I don't know how the players on Saturday are going to feel, if they're going to be disgruntled about, not getting double tickets for the same amount of money spent to play these side events. But I do think that the PPG team and everybody there handled it the best way they possibly could, because so many people were clustered together getting angry and frustrated because so many people drove so far and they just wanted to play Lorcana. So I do think Ryan Miller going around and talking with everybody, and you know, being really cool and just down to earth with everybody, and a lot of the judges walking around and talking to everybody and trying to keep everybody engaged. They did a fantastic job with the situation that they were dealt with. I'm not gonna lie, they did a fantastic job. But some tips and tricks, like I said, the multiplayer was probably the best one, because you can sit down and get your 4 tickets for participation. And if we just wanted to split the prize, it was 16 additional tickets. So we can sit down, shake each other's hand. We can play for fun if we have time in between doing other events. But we were able to shake each other's hands, get tickets, and move on to the next game. So for $13, you were able to sign up for multiplayer and get 8 tickets for almost no time at all, and then able to move on to the next event. So if they continue to double tickets, I do think that the multiplayer is going to be the best amount of dollars spent for time for tickets. So keep an eye out for the multiplayer events. Now, again, this may change from venue to venue, from location to location, and if they continue to make the ticket process evolve, if they're going to change the price of those tickets. Now, one of the things that was extremely tough to obtain was that Cinderella mat. That Cinderella mat was 100 stinking tickets, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I think they ended up giving out a total, or handed out, people got them with tickets, a total of 10 of these throughout the course of the event. So I really hope that they either make it a little bit easier or more efficient to obtain tickets, because you can't bring them from one location to another, so you can't kind of bank them up, which would be an idea for them in the future. Maybe they can make a system where you get tickets on an account and then you can bank them up and then use them for the prize wall later. That would be really cool if they can come up with something like that. But it was their first event. Overall, I think the experience was fantastic, all things considered. So many like minds in that building, so many amazing people. Everybody was cutting up and having fun, meeting new people, meeting a lot of the streamer personalities. And this is actually kind of big, because as of the filming of this video, Pavel and Pixelborn are actually going to be shutting down, which means a lot of these IRL and local events are probably going to start picking up. You're probably going to see more people at local events, because they can't just play online and play test on Pixelborn anymore. They are going to have to play test in person. So you're going to see a lot of these local tournaments really start to pick up in the coming months, I believe. And I do believe it was timed around the area of the challenges for that purpose, because there's a lot of exposure on it and they kind of want to be able to keep their trademarks. So I do think it was a smart situation for Ravensburger, but at the same time, I hope that they bring Pavel onto their development team, because let's be real, Pavel kept the game alive for so many when product was impossible to get during set 1 and 2, before we had really all those big reprints. He was the reason why so many people stayed in the game and didn't just leave the game. Now, those people might have come back in the future, but I do think that he has done a fantastic job for what he did. So thank you, Pavel, for everything and all the time and effort that you put in, all of the casters and all of the streamers for the dedicated hours that you guys put into analytics and everything that you all have done. I know this is about the challenge, but I really appreciate everything, every single one of you that has been involved in any of the online tournaments or casting, any kind of content, any kind of deck text through Pixelborn, any kind of tips and tricks and ideas. Thank you all so much for keeping so many people into the game and helping new players that have never played any kind of TCG before. You know, there's a lot of new TCG players that play Disney Lorcana that have never played any other competitive card game ever before. Now, some people don't play it competitively, some people do play it casually, but thank you guys so much for keeping it alive for so many, and I look forward to seeing all of your content and the changes to content you guys are going to make in the future. So hopefully everybody will be able to make some kind of pivot to different forms of content now that Pixelborn won't be available. But hopefully that means that Disney and Ravensburger are working on their own app and game. So I really hope that we see some of that soon. And hopefully that rolls out relatively quick so that we do not lose as much interest as some people are thinking. I personally think that because of how successful the first challenge was, I don't think we're going to see too big of a drop off without Pixelborn. I just think that is going to force more people out to local game stores to get more playtesting in whenever they can. It does stink that you can't do it within the comfort of your own home anymore. And also now you have to purchase the cards to be able to playtest those decks, unless you just print them and kind of make proxies, which I would recommend if you don't want
want to spend $50 on a Diablo or $20 on or $200 on a playset of Diablo unless you're sure you want to play that card. So if you're playing with friends, I recommend making proxies first, just to make sure that you're confident in the purchase that you're about to make, because some of the decks do cost a decent amount of money. So let me know down in the comments what you think of everything. If you were at the challenge and you saw me there, or we talked or shared a little bit of conversation, let me know down in the comments. It was amazing meeting so many of you there. Can't wait for the next challenge. I am going to try to go to Chicago. I am going to Fort Worth, Texas, and hopefully I will be able to go to some of the other events coming up. So I love each and every one of you. If you want to watch more Lorcana content, click one of the 2 videos here, hit the subscribe button, and of course, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.